I'm Melissa Harris Perry, and I'm the Maya Angelou professor at Wake Forest University. I do lots of public writing and media work as well. And I'd say my mission aligns with Girls Right Now for many reasons, but probably most importantly because I think of myself in whatever role I have as a teacher and a storyteller, and that at the core of the stories I'm most interested in telling are the stories of women and girls of color, and in facilitating the ability of women and girls of color to tell their own stories. And so since that's the work that I'm most interested in doing, and so much of what Girls Right Now is also about is doing that work, that's where I see that alignment. And one of the reasons I really like Posse is I think it hits on a crucial insight, which is simply this. So I hate the concept of self-care. When folks ask me about my self-care routine, I always tell them, screw self-care, I hate self-care, I have no self-care routine, that is not a thing. I only believe in squad care. Because if I'm broken, I can't care for myself. I believe in self-love, but squad care. And so that's part of what the Posse organization also understands. You can't individually go somewhere and succeed by yourself, and no one does. And so the one thing I would say is to remember that everybody doesn't fit in, and that when, for example, when we look at college-age drinking and alcoholism and depression, the highest rates are actually among privileged, heterosexual, cis white men. So guess who also doesn't feel like they fit? Now, I'm not saying we should go pet that and nurture that, but it's just to say that everybody is performing this sense of I'm here and I belong, but actually that feeling is one that many of us have. So hold on to your posse, hold on to your squad, hold on to the people, and if you need somebody, that's not a sign of weakness, that's a sign of humanity. I guess one thing I'd say is you should always seek to know more. So I do think you should write what you know, in the sense that you should know about things before you write them. You should research, you should engage, you should read deeply, you should read broadly, and you should not just shoot your mouth off about stuff you don't know about in the world. But what you know is not limited by what you yourself personally experience. What we know is limited only by our curiosity and our engagement in the world. My favorite book written by, not my favorite book, but my favorite book written about Rosa Parks is written by a white woman named Jean Theoharis. She is Rosa's biographer. She is the keeper of her legacy. Would we imagine that that book should not have been written because it was written by a white woman historian? That would be appalling and ridiculous, right? Similarly, if a brilliant historian of W.B. Du Bois is a woman, would we imagine that that would not be written? So identity politics is not the constraint of our knowledge, but certainly we should write about things that we know about. It's just that what we know about is constrained by what we choose to engage in the world. I probably had garbage taste. I mean, but I'll say this, there are some books that I come back to over and over again, and I really do love children's literature, and I have children. So I'll say, for example, I adore Charlotte's Web. I come back to it often. I read it with my children. There's a lot of very subtle and beautiful life lessons in Charlotte's Web, and one of them is that Charlotte herself was a great friend and a great writer, and that you will very rarely have in your life great friends and great writers, and that when you do, you should hold on to them and you should tell their stories honestly and over again. So it is one of the reasons that I deeply, deeply love Charlotte's Web. It's also true that books like Maya Angelou's Cage Bird were very important to me. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault, and so reading Cage Bird was extraordinarily important to me, even when I had not yet told my story of sexual assault. Knowing that hers was told was a kind of way for me to do that. So those books were both very important to me. Educate only those who you believe are receptive and open to the education. You as a teacher have a right to decide where your classroom is. Not every person deserves to be your student.